FC Cincinnati entered last Saturday's game against Portland licking their wounds after being crushed by St. Louis the week prior. But as Dorothy always said, there's no place like home. Well, TQL Stadium is home, and FC Cincinnati's on a 5-game streak at the Teak. The Timbers found out the hard way with the return of Luciano Acosta and the always present orange and blue supporters. Cincinnati, here we go. Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome into FC Cincinnati Weekly alongside Kevin McCluskey. I am your host, Caleb No. Kevin, welcome back to the show, man, and welcome back FC Cincinnati to the win column.
Yeah, good times. Thanks for having us back. Excited to chat some more about tomorrow's game.
We'll get to the U.S. Open Cup match here shortly, that game against Louisville on Wednesday night. But first, the Portland game this past Saturday. They came into TQL Stadium riding high, coming off that explosive victory the week before against their rival Seattle. Didn't take long for FC Cincinnati to get back on track and playing the kind of soccer we've gotten accustomed to.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, of course, is bouncing back from that loss against St. Louis, right? Coming back to TQL Stadium, where they've been perfect this season, Caleb. So always good to have the fans, the home support behind you. Things were starting to click. You know, chances were created as well. And for FC Cincinnati, they got to 3 points. Yeah,
an early chance there, and that right there was the goal that put FC Cincinnati up 1-0. How about that?
Sergio Santos, again, his first start with alongside Brandon Vazquez. I thought they had a great partnership. They created some great chances and both got on the score sheet too, which was incredible to see.
Yeah, nice to see them creating early opportunities there. You talked about the partnership between Sergio Santos and really the entire attacking side for FC Cincinnati. You see the Bailey rock in there. They had a lot to cheer about.
Yeah, and I think anytime that Brandon Vazquez has partnered with a player that has power and speed like Sergio Santos, you know, you're going to create chances. Lucio Acosta, of course, was back from injury too. And then you had Ray Gaddis and Alvaro Barreal, so they were providing a lot of service. So for FC Cincinnati, a big improvement, I think, in chances created throughout the game. And then defensively did what they had to do to hold on to those 3 points.
Yeah, you saw a really nice save there from Roman Celentano that kept Portland off the board at the time. FC Cincinnati would eventually go up 2-0 in this match against Portland and then concede a goal shortly after. But yeah, I mean, you look at the number of opportunities that FC Cincinnati had. You thought that they were, they got that first goal. You felt like at some point they were going to get a second.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even you might have thought they were going to get a third goal at one point too, just with the attacking chances that were created. But for FC Cincinnati, especially for Brandon Vazquez too, that just came off of international duty this past Wednesday, you know, that was a big boost for him, you know, to get back into the score sheet, for Sergio Santos to get that start alongside him to also score. And then the other chances that Lucho had, that Alvaro Barreal had as well, you know, it was impressive.
Certainly was. There's the goal that Portland had there in the second half that basically immediately followed FC Cincinnati's second goal.
Yeah, Spria obviously is a player that has great ability. He scored that spectacular goal against Seattle. The bicycle kick ends up getting on the score sheet here against FC Cincinnati as well. And throughout the game actually was a nuisance, right? It was a physical presence, got tangled up in some challenges and what were free kicks, yellow cards, could it be red cards, you know, all of those things that I'm sure we'll discuss. But he certainly was a performer that was effective for Portland.
So Luciano Acosta was back on the pitch for FC Cincinnati against Portland this past Saturday. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, he's good. I mean, we all know it. You can see the difference when he's out there on the pitch. The passing, but most of all, the composure. Incredible.
Yeah, he's such a difference maker, right? And we talk about the chances that FC Cincinnati created. A lot of it comes down to him, right? The creative kind of flow that he has in midfield, the balance that he has, as you talk about composure as well. And just kind of that understanding of the tactical IQ piece of the game. Understand where his teammates are, the space, the pressure. And he just makes things look so easy, right? Everything is so graceful. And that's a true kind of testament to him, the skill sets that he has. And that is not indicative of a lot of players in this league. So he is truly a number 10, which is a hard position to find.
So there is Luciano Acosta with the cross that gets the ball in front of the goal effectively for FC Cincinnati. Takes a couple touches there to get it into the net, but it works. And that's another example. You see him with the hug. Yep. Brandon Vazquez there. Another example of just him creating opportunities for FC Cincinnati.
For sure, and I think if you look at just that last play, he understands, you know, Barreal is at the back post, he lifts it over the two defenders, the serve into him, Barreal plays it back, Sergio Santos is a little bit of a mishit, but that's okay. He's in the right position at the right time. And then Brandon Vazquez does what he's supposed to do, is kind of be inside of that 6 and kind of sweep up the scrap, so to speak.
Just seems like he sees things differently than anybody else out on the field or anybody in the stadium for that matter.
Yep.
The goal scorer for Portland, Dairon Asprilla, had a great goal 2 weeks ago against Seattle, and he scored again in the game against FC Cincinnati on Saturday. I think some FC Cincinnati fans, though, would say he shouldn't have even been out on the field after an aggressive foul earlier in the game, just plowed Obinna Nwobodo, gets a yellow card. When I saw it, I personally was thinking red. Why wasn't it?
It's a tough challenge, and it's obviously going to be the referee's decision. You can see the referee's right there. Does he have the angle? Because as we're seeing it from this view, you can see Asprilla is leading with his shoulder. He hits the bottom of Nwobodo's chin. It's a very clumsy and bad-timed and dangerous tackle and challenge, and it certainly could be argued that it would be a red card. It was a yellow card. Asprilla, again, in this play was involved, and as I mentioned, was kind of a nuisance all night. So the question could be, the Nwobodo challenge plus this, where it's a push in the back. How's he still on the field?
Yeah.
That's a question, obviously, for the referee, not for us, Caleb.
Yeah, it's got to be shoulder to shoulder in soccer. That was a shoulder right in the back there. The other one, the biggest question, I think, sometimes between red and yellow, the biggest differentiator there is, are you going for the ball? The ball was there. I think FC Cincinnati fans, though, might have wanted more of a red card on that one. Well, it won't get any easier tomorrow. For the second time in the last 3 weeks, FC Cincinnati will face a team that is atop their conference in the form of the New England Revolution. Let's take a look at our match preview brought to you by Tri-State GMC. Buick, 20 points in the table for New England, but 20 points for FC Cincinnati as well. This is a big one.
Yeah, both teams got in 6-1-2, the same record. It's a tough opponent, obviously playing in Foxborough as well. It's a synthetic field. It's not the best or easiest place to kind of go in and try to get points. There's a bit of history as well. There's obviously a family dynamic too. But for FC Cincinnati, I think that win at home against Portland, I think boosts the confidence. I think starting to create the chances, again, of what we saw last season, a team that's very good, especially in transition. That I would expect will be the game plan against this New England team, where they sit back in periods to defend, and then at the right time they attack in transition with some of the attacking threats that we've discussed today.
So how do you, beat a team like that if you're FC Cincinnati?
It's patience, right? I think it's a game plan. I think defensively they've got to sit in, they've got to be very compact. New England's going to be a very aggressive team, so I think discipline is a key component to executing that defensive plan. And then in transition, as I mentioned, once you have the opportunity and the space is there to attack, you've got to go quickly, you've got to be effective. And I think the biggest thing, you might only get 2 or 3 chances. You've got to be composed in the box. You've got to convert.
Saturday's game will feature father versus son on the line. Bruce Arena, the former U.S. national team coach, is the coach of New England, and his son Kenny is an assistant with FC Cincinnati. So there's a little bit of family pride on the line as well as first place come Saturday night. Thank you so much for coming and joining the show, Kevin.
I appreciate it.
Come again sometime.
Yeah, definitely will.
Well, you may have heard the big news. Brenner will be leaving FC Cincinnati. No need to panic, though. After the break, we will sit down with general manager Chris Albright and get the lowdown on the big move for the Brazilian striker.
When you think banker, you think dress shoes. At First Financial, we think your shoes and walking a mile in them. It's how we put you first, understanding what your business needs to take the next step, or what you need to give your finances a solid footing. Because while banking can happen here, our relationships are made out here. A bank that makes you feel like number one. That's First.
First! The new 2023 GMC Sierra AT4X is equipped to conquer the great outdoors. Or the great indoors. Welcome to the peak of premium off-roading. Or get 2.9% APR for 5 years and no monthly payments for 90 days on turbo high-output engine Sierra light-duty elevation crew cab models.
Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. Gather together with friends and family. It's Skyline time.
I grew up eating Skyline, so after school, it's nice just to head through the drive-thru and pick up our 3-ways.
It makes me feel excited and happy. If I was given Skyline grades, I'll give me 2 A+.
When it hurts to move, what often hurts most is the fact that you can't. Because every rebound is calling your name, and every dance should be danced. It's in moments like these that we step in to help you step back off the sidelines. Because it takes 2 to tango in this life, and you are meant to be the one. Mercy Health, healthcare for the universe of you. Find an orthopedic doctor at mercy.com/ortho.
I'm your overly competitive brother. Check. Psych. And I'm about to steal this game from you, just like I stole Kelly Carter in high school, huh?
You got no game. Dude, that's a foul!
And now you're ready to settle a score. Game over. If you don't have the right home insurance coverage, well, you can end up paying for all this yourself. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem. Yeah, like me.
Thanks, bro.
Take a lap, rookie.
Real mature.
All right, back with General Manager Chris Albright as we look at FC Cincinnati and the big move announced this week. Brenner is moving on to Udinese, a record transfer for FC Cincinnati. Why was this transfer in this moment right after months of calls on Brenner for all parties?
I think first and foremost it met our valuation of the player. You know, it was important that we reached an amount of money that we felt was commensurate with his performance and what he means to us. You know, I will say that, you know, I think if you look back at the history of when the club acquired Brenner, they were desperate to score goals, right. And they went out and got a prospect that showed up and did score goals for FC Cincinnati, and that's important. Did we as a club overpay at the time? Yes. I also think that's important to note. And so I think we were always kind of chasing a ghost a bit in trying to recoup $13 million. And so we feel really comfortable with the number we landed on. I'm really pleased with that number. You know, the other part of this is the player wanted to go.
Right.
And, you know, unlike our other major league sports in the United States, the players have a big say in where they want to go. You can't just trade a player, you know, somewhere. The players' desires, we have a lot of players that desire to play in Europe. That's still the reality that we're dealing with in MLS, and MLS continues to rise globally every year. But when you couple the fact that we were really happy with the $10 million and the fact that Brenner's ambitions were to go play for a club like Udinese, those things just married up and made it the right timing.
For the club, this is a franchise record as far as a transfer fee is considered. And look, there haven't been many outgoing transfers like this, but across Major League Soccer there have been, and yet this is still one of the biggest outgoing transfers ever. What does that mean for the club to be in the market like that?
It helps in recruitment, frankly.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the story we're telling is not only come here and help FC Cincinnati win something, which is still our main focus as a club, but, you know, we're going to develop you to be able to sell you on to kind of where you want to reach your ambitions. And so it helps us then go get the next prospect, the next Marco Angulo or Alvaro Barreal, or a player coming over from Europe that perhaps wants to then return back to Europe. So I think it's a really powerful indicator that we've entered the development sell-on space. You obviously always have to balance that with maximizing those players while they're here, because again, our fan base wants to win. We want to win. We understand that. But this is the sort of price of being a global player in the transfer market.
But with this news, a seller in a big way, but the club will continue to be a buyer, right? And bringing guys in. What does the timeline look like for possible reinforcements for this team?
Well, the scouting process is constant.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at examples of guys on the field, I think we were chasing Obi for 8 months. We looked at Marco Angulo for over a year. And so the scouting process is constant. So we were looking at reinforcements for attacking positions a year ago, knowing that we have players that are coveted. So we feel pretty comfortable in some of the conversations we're having with players, and are hopeful that we have some sort of momentum and maybe some news we can share relatively soon, and reinforcements that could come in this summer and help us continue to compete at the level we're doing now.
Well, you're a year and a half into your tenure with FC Cincinnati. You've brought in players who have been a part of the success of this resurrection for the club. How pleased have you been with how well all these different new pieces have fit this year?
Well, that's the game, right? I know I talked a lot about when we took the job about sort of amassing talent and assembling a team, and that's really the nuance. And I think we've been really happy with the pieces we've been able to add. They've really supplemented the talented pieces we've had. If you look at Obi and Matt and Roman, obviously maybe some of the most notable, being able to add guys like Santi and Yersin this year, and really happy with, I think, mostly this year is the base that we're creating, the depth that we're creating. When you look at Malik and Marco and Ian and Joey and guys that are really helping us raise the level in training every day to kind of really build an MLS group, I think that's what we've been really most pleased with, and what we needed to address coming into this year.
Well, it's been a remarkable start so far in 2023. What's been the biggest key to success in picking up where the team left off last year?
I think just having a much different starting point, right? We were in some ways reinventing the wheel 16 months ago, right? Trying to institute a new system, style of play, methodology, how we scout, how we recruit, how we sort of treat each other and walk around the building. And so if you look at the playoff win in New York, and then obviously a disappointment in Philly, that was a kind of our floor. And so to be able to bring a lot of the same group back, have that continuity, have the players understand what Pat and the coaching staff really require every day from a professional level, that's allowed us to continue to sort of get off to this start that I think has everybody excited.
Well, the ceiling seems to be growing, and the expectations higher and higher every day. This move certainly a piece of the puzzle. Congratulations. Appreciate the time, always.
Thanks, Tommy.
All right, that is Chris Albright. I'm Tom Glerter.
Well, FC Cincinnati had a game yesterday, not an MLS game. The U.S. Open Cup is underway, and their old rival, Louisville City FC, made their first ever visit to TQL Stadium, and the Dirty River Derby was revived. We will have highlights coming up after this.
Frisch's has been making craveable American classics since 1947, like Frisch's Classic Big Boy and Super Big Boy burgers. Each one piled high with crispy lettuce, crunchy pickles, 2 fresh, never frozen, all beef patties, topped with American cheese and our famous tartar sauce. Oh, the tartar sauce. It doesn't get much better than this, or does it? Try the Big Boy with fries and a drink, or make it a Super Big Boy with fries and a drink. Stop by or order online at Frisch's.com, DoorDash, or Uber Eats. Frisch's, everyone's favorite.
When a drug you're testing might change the world, it doesn't feel like work. When the data might add up to a better life for millions of patients, there's real meaning in crunching the numbers. When a clinical trial signals a safe and effective medical option, you know your work matters. And when you want to work alongside some of the brightest minds in biotech, then MedPace is where you belong. If you want to make a difference tomorrow, join us today. Visit medpace.com/careers.
I'm looking for someone who cares about my needs.
I'm looking for someone who will let me use their charger.
Connections, the dating app exclusively for singles who are in your area for 2 painful hours waiting for their connecting flight.
So, how's that charger working out for you?
Connections. Not necessary for those who live the non-stop life.
Oh, another connection.
Are you ready to help move medicine forward? CTI-CRC, a local clinical research center, is looking for adults 18 and older to participate in a chemo-induced peripheral neuropathy study. If you've experienced neuropathy with breast, colorectal, or gynecological cancers, you may qualify for this study. All study-related care will be provided at no cost, and insurance is not necessary. Qualified participants may be compensated up to $3,175 for their time and trip. Call or visit ctifacts.com to learn more.
reinforced seatbelt laws. Because in real life, you don't get a second chance.
Welcome back, everyone, on FC Cincinnati Weekly from TQL Stadium. It's a renewal of FC Cincinnati's oldest rivalry in the third round of the U.S. Open Cup. They call it the Dirty River Derby. Louisville City FC in town, and most of the typical starters for FC Cincinnati resting most of the night ahead of a massive MLS game this Saturday at New England. Early on, a missed opportunity for Archimedes Ordonez. Had the keeper one-on-one inside the 18. Couldn't find the net, though. Eventually, later on, some of the familiar faces would sub in, including Brandon Vasquez. He came on in the 83rd minute, and sure enough, where there's Brandon Vasquez, there are goals to be found. 2 minutes after he came on, Archimedes Ordonez makes good on his early game miss. He nets it. It was Lucho Acosta and Alvaro Barrial that worked it into him, and that's the only goal this match would see. FC Cincinnati moves on in the U.S. Open Cup with a 1-0 win over their old rival, Lou City FC.
It's always good to win the rivalry games, the games that have a little bit more meaning with certain players, that have been a part of it, with the fan base, with the clubs. So, that part's nice. You always want to win those games.
So again, FC Cincinnati wins 1-0 over Louisville City FC in the U.S. Open Cup. Now let's take a look at FC Cincinnati 2 and what they're up to.
Build them up to get better. All right, guys, because we're going to need everyone. All right, but hey, very good start. Well done. 3-point. Excellent job. Yeah? All right.
Competition has been really good. We've brought down a couple guys. Been very competitive games. I feel like we're building each and every game. We got to win early in the season. We're just going to try to keep it going, keep building on every single game, every single training session.
Yeah, look, the expectation going to year two is obviously is going to be different. You had a year in terms of going through, the ups and downs and, the grind of, seeing who we need to bring back. But also now you know what it's about, and you know what the league is about, and you know the players who you need to, help you to continue to grow.
It's great to be able to come up with the first team and get some extra minutes with them at a really high level and just stay sharp. That's the most important thing, stay on top of things, because we can't be going into the next game. Each and every game is important. We can't take off. Even if we have a week off, doesn't mean we can come into the next game slacking, because every single game matters.
Well, the energy and excitement at TQL Stadium this season has been electric, as FC Cincinnati has gone a perfect 5-0 in front of a solid crowd of 25,513 each night. FCC has truly been a hot ticket.
If you want to know what Cincinnati's all about, FC Cincinnati, TQL Stadium's the way to go.
We have a chance to win the championship this year. It's a good bet to come out and cheer on FCC.
Acosta, make sure.
Something major is happening and you're a part of it. Like the big snowball rolling down the mountain, and it's exciting. The fans, the Bailey stand, we sing all together, we're yelling, screaming, no matter what the result is. We won and we're all together. It's beautiful.
Well, new this year, MLS Season Pass on Apple TV is the only place to watch every FC Cincinnati regular season, playoff, and Leagues Cup match. To learn more about MLS Season Pass on Apple TV, visit fccincinnati.com/Season Pass. MLS Season Pass, your source to watch FC Cincinnati all season long. FC Cincinnati Weekly. We'll be right back.
Stacy!
I'm the sizzle of this promposal. Tonight, sparks are gonna fly.
Kyle?
And while Romeo over here is trying to look cool, things are about to heat up.
Uh-oh. Darn it, Kyle!
And if you don't have the right home insurance coverage, you can end up paying for this yourself.
Sorry, Mr. Sanchez.
Get Allstate. Be better protected from mayhem, like me. That's a hard note.
We've always gone to Skyline. As soon as we get there, the girls run to make sure that we can get the counter.
it's kind of neat for the kids to sit there and watch their food being made.
It's like right in front of you, showing kind of like how it's actually done. It's awesome because it's a skyline thing.
Very, very, very awesome.
Where else can you go and play and entertain yourself and eat, you know?
Nobody has a counter like Skyline. It's just the best.
The new 2023 GMC Sierra AT4X is equipped to conquer the great outdoors. Or the great indoors. Welcome to the peak of premium off-roading.
Or get 2.9% APR for 5 years and no monthly payments for 90 days on turbo high-output engine Sierra light-duty elevation crew cab models.
At Mercy Health, we believe your health care should always revolve around you. So these days, it's not just about how we care for you, it's where. Because whether at our place or yours, or wherever your day takes you, we'll be there with compassionate, personalized care. No matter how the world changes, your health will always be our top priority. Mercy Health, primary care for the universe of you. Visit mercy.com to find a doctor near you.
Welcome back, everyone, to FC Cincinnati Weekly. We want to remind you that your next chance to catch FC Cincinnati at TQL Stadium is a week from Saturday, May 6th, against DC United. Game time 7:30. DC United has won their last 2 MLS games, so it should be a tough match for FC Cincinnati. Get your tickets today at fccincinnati.com. I want to thank FC Cincinnati for inviting me out last Saturday to pull the sword. Here he goes. That's me. Before the game against Portland, a little pregame ceremony to get the fans fired up before kickoff. I'm not sure how I did, okay? Like, I hadn't practiced my sword skills recently, or, I don't know, ever. Hopefully it got the crowd fired up. That's the biggest thing I wanted to do, was get the crowd fired up. Hopefully it went well. I know I had a great time doing it. That's our show for tonight and for this week. Thank you so much for joining us here every Friday night, 7:30 for FC Cincinnati Weekly, the most comprehensive coverage of the orange and blue that you'll find anywhere out there. For Kevin McCluskey and the rest of our FC Cincinnati Weekly crew, have a great evening and go FCC.
Go, eh? Hey, go! Come on, boys! Together up there! 1, 2, 3!